Punk Revolution now. Today we're going to be reviewing Mac Miller's newest album, Circles. So Circles is a companion album with Mac Miller's previous release back in 2018, Swimming. So you got Swimming and you got Circles. They come together to create this concept of swimming in circles. And for those of you unfamiliar with Swimming, that was Mac Miller's last album before, only a month after this album was released. He passed away tragically of a accidental drug overdose. So that makes Circles, his newest album, his first posthumous album. And frankly, that does make this a little bit of a complicated, challenging album to review, given that, you know, you have to take into consideration, is his death going to make my review biased? Am I going to be, you know, taking that into consideration when I'm listening to it? Would I have rated it higher or lower if he hadn't passed away? You know, all these sort of questions. So I'm going to be honest with you, this is kind of a sensitive album to review, but I do feel like it all does come together nicely for a nice discussion. So let's get this started. Let's take a look at the album cover to get it started. So this album cover is pretty emotional. It's just a photo of Mac Miller himself right there as if he's still there with us. Black and white, a little bit blurry, kind of a depressing, a little bit sad feel to it. Like, oh my God, he's not really here anymore. He's still here. So pretty sad cover. And that goes along perfectly with the mood, the emotion that this album is conveying, okay? So it's impossible not to talk about the background of or take into consideration Mac Miller's unfortunate passing and the challenges he's faced throughout his life with drug addiction, etc. You have to take that into consideration in this album, even regardless if he didn't pass away, just because the lyrics, he's just so blunt and so honest, just putting it all out there about, damn, I'm having a hard time just getting through the fucking day. I am fucking tired. I am miserable. And you're hearing that emotional delivery and you feel it, and you know it's fucking real. He's not putting on a show. He's not saying these lyrics to put on a show, to act for you and dance for you, to fucking make, you know, more money from his music. He's saying this and he's being honest, and we know he's being honest, and we can only imagine what other shit is going on in his life we don't know. So that's pretty heavy. And the production in this album was produced by John Bryan and, you know, and completed by John Bryan after Mac Miller's passing. So the production is beautiful. The production is minimal, kind of like neo-soul, a little bit of R&B influence, with very like minimal kind of psychedelic elements in there too. Like a psychedelic guitar might come in here once in a while, which is very minimal, very pleasant, very gentle. And that really allows you to have a very intimate moment with Mac Miller because the production is stripped back, so you really get to focus on every word that Mac Miller is saying. The lyrics on this album also play a fundamental, very important role in this album. They are very emotional, very honest. There's a number of times where Mac Miller actually references death. He's, you know, lyrics about everyone dies, lyrics about I don't want to live forever, you know, those sort of stuff. There's even the opening track is a lyric that says, basically, this is what it looks like before someone falls. I don't think that lyric was intentionally about death, but it does sure sound like it almost is, like he's foreshadowing his death or something. Very, very heavy stuff. And I think my favorite moment in this album lyrically was in Good News, where there's almost like a moment, a glimpse of optimism in him, where it sounds like, yeah, I'm having a difficult time right now, but once I get to the other side, things should get better for me. Hopefully. That glimpse of optimism is heart-wrenching, understanding the circumstances of his passing away. So lyrically, you know, first half of this album, it's going to evoke an emotional reaction to you, which I think is very artistic. You know, makes this album definitely, that's definitely the key strength of this album. But second half of this album, the lyrics do become a little bit more surface level, a little bit more almost generic pop lyrics that I don't feel as much emotional connection to, and the melodies also I don't feel are as interesting in the second half of this album. So while this album is consistently melancholy, I don't think it's consistently high quality. I don't feel like it's, you know, overall a fantastic album as a whole. I'm going to give this album a 7 out of 10. I do think there's some key fantastic tracks I recommend checking out. If you're a Mac Miller fan, I think you're gonna really like this album. But if you're not necessarily a big fan of Mac Miller, maybe you don't need to listen to this entire album. I'd still advise checking out a few tracks like Circles and Good News at the very least, though. So thanks for watching, everybody. 7 out of 10. R.I.P. Mac Miller. Thanks for watching. Punk Revolution now.